0549271265. GH listen. Yenidra.
a special edition on John Mahama's address to the nation on the economy this evening. UPSA Auditorium, Medina, and Odijumedi as Midi Kanka Elian, the former president will be speaking on a number of issues. The last time our president Ekasa on such events, now what we did say Ghana at Crossroads, and Kempinski Hotel, Okasafa, the economy. You better recap of that event. The last time our president former president Kasafa, the economy. The last interview on a Voice of America, VOA, and also Okasa about the economy. We're bringing you excerpts of those videos now in a short while. But now what you and I say, yes, now what you so they will say a lot of people have been speaking on the economy. As at Tuesday, the CD has depreciated 15 cedis against the dollar. Also na yeka and the economy MPs now call parliament, so MPs resume to parliament this week. About 80 MPs Kasafa the event, say President Ensake finance minister and so as and when we get the feed, we go straight to UPSA auditorium near Kochuche and Komo and Anope analogy, sorry. Pacho, but what else all the messages at about 0503236735 0503236735. Mabu share on Facebook also. Yadama say Munya Bajebre Namu share on Facebook. Yenko share the last speech or the last address by the former president John Dramani Mahama and our to say Ghana at Crossroads.
First. On the economic front, Nana Akufo-Addo and NPP pledged to transform Ghana within 18 months, as I said, grow our economy at double digits, reduce borrowing, ensure fiscal discipline, bring down the cost of living, lower taxes, and protect the public purse. They promised also to move Ghana from taxation to production. In effect, none of these has been achieved. Instead, Ghanaians have been subjected to excruciating hardship and deprivation resulting directly from the mismanagement of the economy by a government that lacks the humility to accept responsibility and the capacity to appropriately diagnose the root causes of the challenges that have brought us here. Rather, they constantly seek to impose on us their version of the economic reality, denying that food prices have gone up, insisting that the business climate is very favorable, virulently protesting the evidence that their investments in meaningful capital expenditure is insignificant, and ignoring glaring evidence of unprecedented levels of corruption and breaches of internationally acclaimed standards of social justice. This government contests even the most basic and glaring set of facts. This should never have been the case for a government that has been fortunate to receive far more resources in the last 5 years than almost all governments before them under the Fourth Republic put together. Despite this fortune, today, the Ghanaian economy ranks amongst the worst managed in the world. It is characterized by unsustainable public debt due to an unprecedented fiscal deficit, comparatively high and still rising inflation, a rapidly depreciating currency, spiraling cost of doing business, ever-rising cost of living, high levels of corruption, abuse of civil and human liberties, and a general loss of investor confidence. Simply put, our country is on the verge of bankruptcy. In spite of the firm promise to reduce borrowing, this government has increased our public debt to almost 380 billion Ghana cedis as of the end of the first quarter of 2022. This is more than 3 times the debt of all governments since the days of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah put together up to January 2017. A direct consequence of this astronomical borrowing is that our debt service obligations per annum has increased by 500%, from 10 billion Ghana cedis, which it was in 2016, to about 50 billion Ghana cedis now. We are at a great risk of defaulting on our debt repayments unless something drastic is done. To be clear, despite the heavy politicization of debt by the current administration while in opposition, the real problem we face is not just because of the daunting large size of the debt in terms of value. Rather, it is the stark reality that these huge levels of borrowing have not gone into infrastructure and capital investments, but have been applied largely to consumption and in some cases even misapplied. This heavy borrowing has not been met by commensurate and significant improvement in the size of our economy and its productivity to ease repayment of the debts in future. My brothers and sisters, an important and yet very disturbing variable, often ignored in our national discourse about the debt situation, is the corresponding ballooning of government's indebtedness to local businesses and other statutory bodies, including SOEs. These issues must occupy an important space within national discourse because our estimation is that government's liabilities to local businesses and other stakeholders exceed 30 billion Ghana cedis. Arising directly from the excessive borrowing to fund consumption-related expenditure is the harsh truth that more than half of what government collects in taxes is used to serve its debt, with the remainder going almost exclusively into public sector wages and salaries. This has created self-inflicted rigidities that leave very little space for investment in other important areas of the economy. The effect of this is that government is unable to meet its spending obligations in the most critical sectors of the economy, on which the livelihoods of millions of our people depend. It is little wonder, therefore, that out of a total annual collection of 2.1 billion under the National Health Insurance Levy as at end of 2021, only 127 million Ghana cedis, which is about 6% of the amount, had been released to the authority. This is stifling the ability of healthcare providers in the private and public sector to provide adequate care for the mass of our people. My brothers and sisters, in the hands of a more responsible and prudent administration, the resources that have been available to this administration should have resulted in quantum leaps in the standard of living of Ghanaians, and we should have recorded major progress as a nation. After inheriting a stable economy, the last address former President John Dramani Mahama, that same event, Ghana at Crossroads, Kempiski, so that was a recap. In that address, no, Okasa about high rates of inflation, the CD depreciating against the dollar. Okasa about job unemployment, youth unemployment. Sorry, just say Ghana ha any Ohawa any atitia. 24 FM as Omama for more Ghana ha na enu na osambeka ahu asem no today he's speaking purely on the economy or kasa afa yesi kasem no me catch you say na what we de Ghana's kasem no a trend pa, so it is no surprise to say former President John Dramani Mahama ka ehu asem mo share on Facebook na yedama say Facebook, those watching watching us live on Facebook, yedama say you bump your best channel say share you call man so enche dia ne Imanolu Usu or Executive Director Movement for Responsible and Accountable Governance actually in Komo Ebano Jumedi Babidino, former President John Dramani Mahama Babidino, and Anna Jufai Ewo
UPSA auditorium Medina. But former President Echo a VOA Voice of America Echo Train in Komoho. Also about the economy. For the I can confidently tell you for the past 3 to 4 months now. Anytime a former president Ebinya Kwan say and Obinya Kunya Bia so Okasa no Okasa efa economy no. Oko Voice of America. Yenti say mo Okafa economy no.
This government has twin problems. One is macroeconomic instability because expenditures far exceed revenues. Revenues are not performing properly. But then the second thing is also that they went on a borrowing spree and they've pushed our debts to levels that are unsustainable. Just recently, the World Bank came and said we had almost 104% of debt to GDP. And so we have twin problems. One, to achieve fiscal consolidation, and two, to bring debts back to sustainable levels. So that's what they're faced with.
Okay, and also any asema okay we na oche problem about we when it comes to the economy or managing the economy and also okanwasa but okanse so efa NDC amanye ko say omunya akonya say omobedi omanus enimbi wana so manus bi ma nyama wombeye and also the tudwa ewo ni interview ewo Voice of America so yentinibra.
What I'll do differently, the economy is situated in an environment. It does not exist in isolation. And so there are some things that need to be done to create an environment for the economy to thrive. And some of them are governance issues, strengthening state-owned institutions, the fight against corruption, you know, and so many other things that create the environment for the economy to thrive. I think that if we go into this program and we bring debts back to sustainable levels and we're able to get the bridging facility in order to achieve policy credibility so that investors again feel confident that they can bring their money into Ghana, then we must start from there and maintain that prudence. This should be the last time we go to the IMF. I mean, because going and coming and going and coming, I mean, it's really, it creates a certain instability in the whole system, and it also reduces the faith that people have in our democracy. One of the things that we will do when we come back, that's the NDC. I didn't say I, because we're not sure who will lead us. One of the things that we'll do is to, like I said, strengthen state institutions, strengthen the anti-corruption institutions, but most importantly, look at the Constitution again. We've been operating this Constitution for more than 26 years. And I think that the time has come for us to look at it again and do some tweaking in order that we can have a more a proper constitutional environment.
Okay, Mamenko Ahomano so Namene Emmanuel Owusu Enkasa, Executive Director, Movement for Responsible and Accountable Governance. Ima Otemenka Nemawajo na Apomoto saying. Movement for Responsible and Accountable Governance. Jumedi no ekoseng.
Yeah, Jumedi so Alicia. Research into we've been around the country researching into a few matters. Here Magana for it. We are doing good.
Okay, we know the economy has been on the radar for some weeks now, for close to a month now, especially with the time IMF ever into the system now. This week, the economy has been a topical issue across all media divides. First of all, how will you rate the economy as it stands now?
For now, as it stands now, the key indicators that will show say an economy we are still in the negatives. CD, which is a key indicator, is not doing so. It's not doing well. And I feel so. It just should be so. That's also not doing too well. And fuel prices, which is also a key indicator for any growing economy. And also fuel, no so kwana, cost so. Generally, and I feel it just so things the cost of products have have increased. The general look and these are some of the key indicators that drives an economy. Now, generally, so I can confidently say that as of now, the economy is not doing too well. Yeah.
Were you shocked? Said now what Parliament 80 MPs were calling for the sack of the finance minister and then the minister of state in charge of finance.
I wasn't sure because they are long overdue. And I said, many times I've been to your studio and I've recommended and we said that the finance minister should have been sacked way long ago. And I think Ghana is a democracy. So for the first time we are seeing a political a majority group that belongs to the government opposing to their own minister, which is good. So I wasn't sure because over the finance minister here or honorable